on Cemetary Ridge, and behind me in front of you is Cemetary Ridge. Going that way, where the obelisk is, in that region. That would be the target of the attack. It is essentially a little bit uphill once you get to the other side of the road, especially. 1 o'clock p.m., Lee will order 150 cannons like the ones behind us to roll out in the open fields before the attack begins. He'll bombard Cemetary Ridge. Fortunately, on July 3rd, there was no wind on this battlefield, no wind whatsoever. Each time one of these cannons fired, it would put out just a lot of smoke. And now we have 150 going off, firing 1 shot per minute for 2 hours. Very early in that bombardment, the entire valley between the two sides filled with smoke. They couldn't see where their shells were landing, and the tendency, of course, in a situation like that was to overshoot. So a lot of the Confederate shells from this side of the field would land as far as 200 yards behind Cemetary Ridge, missing their target altogether. By 3 o'clock p.m., many of the cannons over here on this side are beginning to run low on ammunition. So General James Longstreet, Lee's second command, will give the order to George Pickett to bring out his infantry. And at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 12,500 men emerge from these woods and start marching straight towards the middle of the Union line. Now, if you follow this fence line that's off to our left here, going out towards Cemetery Ridge, you kind of see how it rises and falls steadily as it goes towards Cemetery Ridge. It was not just flat and wide open country. There were swales at least 3 different locations here along that way that allowed the Confederates to bring their line to a halt, reform it, close the gaps that are being torn up by the Union artillery, but nevertheless, other than that, it's pretty much wide open. The second these Confederates emerged from the woods, there was 8,100 cannon trained at them right here in this area. They had to cross all the way to where those cars are driving right now, the Emmitsburg Road, where those 4 motorcycles are at right now, before they could fire back. 3/4 of a mile across open countryside, all the while getting torn to pieces by Union artillery, knowing full well they can't do anything about it until they get closer. Just the feelings of helplessness, not knowing if you're going to make it or not. Many of these Confederates would pin their name to their hat or to the inside of their jackets. The body could be identified if they were killed. They knew full well at this point in the American Civil War the risks that were involved of going across a mile of open countryside into the face of the enemy fire, as they were preparing for death, quite simply.
So did they march or run?
There was a fence, yeah, where that bus is driving right now, going towards the town of Gettysburg, towards the north. That's the Emmitsburg Road. There were fences on both sides of the road. They could not knock them down, so they actually had to jump over them. And they do that at about the same time the Union infantry began to fire at them. So all that was happening within seconds of each other. Yeah.
So what was their pace? Were they walking, marching, running?
It was a steady march. It took them about 15 minutes to get from here to the road.
So that's a fault right there, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they were trying to save their strength to get to the very end, because if they ran from here to the road, they wouldn't have anything left once they got there.
Okay.
And they wanted to stay as organized as possible. The idea back then was to centralize and concentrate your firepower at a common target. Bunch them together in tight formations, aim towards the same general thing, and that'll destroy the target more quickly. No, that was the idea. That's how they fought battles back then. It was an effective way of fighting, but it was also a great way of losing a lot of men in a short amount of time, especially if your flank was open like it would be here at Pickett's Charge. The bouncing cannonball effect would definitely take its toll on the Confederate Army as time progressed here. Absolutely.
So the trees